Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all for this wonderful and insightful session. I'm Nisha from Briskinfosec. We have organized this webinar to discuss on the topic called Beyond Size, how to elevate your SOC cybersecurity monitoring. Throughout this webinar session, our esteemed guest will shed light on innovative approaches and best practices aimed at strengthening your organization defense against evolving your threats. Also, he will share his expertise and practical tips on how you can strengthen your SOC, enhance the threat and detection, and stay one and away from the cyber threats. To discuss this, we have a special guest, Mr. Vijay Bharat Saurirajan, a cybersecurity expert with over 15 plus years of experience in cybersecurity industry. Mr. Vijay Bharat currently serves as a Vice President of Cybersecurity for Z Enterprises Limited. During his tenure, he held various positions and projects across different cybersecurity streams. So, hi, sir.
Hey,
Hello,
good
sir.
evening, Isha, and good
Sir,
evening all.
welcome to our live. I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Okay, sir. So, thank you so much for joining in our live session, sir. So, now
Thank you.
this is over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. And I'm Vijay, as Nisha mentioned. For the next 30 minutes, I'm just kind of going through the basics of cybersecurity and aligning with the topic SOC monitoring, how we can elevate the cybersecurity for small and medium enterprise. Before we start this session, correct? I just want to kind of start with a question for the audience to process while we go through the session, and then we'll come to an answer at the end of the session. Does the enterprise size matters in building the cyber strategy? Because we are going to focus on small and medium, there is a reason for it. But at the same time, I just want our audience to also look into.
Sorry to interrupt, Vijay. Let's just wait for 2 more minutes. The people are joining.
No problem.
So, like, we'll start in 2 to 3 minutes. The people are. Yes, Vijay, we can start now.
Sure. Good evening, all, for the people who are joining from India, and good day for others. We are just going to focus more mainly on the SOC monitoring, how it is going to enhance the cybersecurity strategy for small and medium enterprise. Even though we are just focusing on small and medium enterprise, but I just want to start the session with a question or a thought process. Does the size of the organization, enterprise, matter in building the cyber strategy? There is a reason why I'm just putting this as a question for you to think through, and by end of the session, we'll just come to know the answer, also the discussion points. So before we're building a SOC, correct, we need to understand what is the vision and mission for the cybersecurity organization. What does that mean? What are the objectives? What is the purpose for a cybersecurity organization to exist in an overall ecosystem of a big business, correct? These are the 6 key tenets. In the current context, any service industry or any organization, any service pillar is there to support the business. Nobody wants to have a cost center to run by just spending the cost, but not getting any kind of an revenue model and not aligning with the business strategy. So we need to see what is the business of the organization and what is the outcome that they are driving, and our strategy should depend and align to that. And our key is we need to identify what are the critical assets for the business, and then our strategy should revolve around in protecting the critical assets. Please keep in mind that there is no way that we can able to protect everything. So we need to identify what is critical, and then our strategy should revolve around that. The second, third, and foremost is all we are doing it to gain the customer trust. Correct? Customer can be the internal stakeholder or external stakeholder. So we need to keep our customer and the business in the center of the foreground in doing whatever the stuffs we are doing in the cybersecurity organization. And in the current context of the increasing in ransomware and other cyber attacks, each and every business leaders are demanding the cyber resilience from the cyber organization. It's not only an IT responsibility, but also it's a cyber responsibility. So we need to assist the business in building the cyber resiliency, which is very key. Without the business continuity, none of the business can able to sustain, and able to run. Correct? And with the kind of privacies and other regulations coming across the globe, now even in DPDP Act in India, so we need to keep what are the regulatory requirements, which is very important. Our responsibility is not only to protect the data, but also align with what is our regulator, the law of the land saying. If you're operating in India, Indian regulations. If you're operating in Europe, European regulations. If it's a global company, you need to understand all the regulations across the globe and define your process and policies accordingly. And the last one, which is cherry in the cake, is we need to know and we need to define as how cybersecurity organization can able to generate revenue for the business. Correct? Not all the service pillar can able to generate the revenue for the cybersecurity organization. Some we can able to help in generating the revenue, some in losing the revenue. So we need to have that clearly in the mind, and then we need to define our strategy. And now the objectives should revolve around these top six key tenets, correct? If somebody asks, are the only six? No. Depends upon the business. It depends upon the organizational goal. You can able to keep, add, edit, and generate more vision and mission for the cyber organization. So once we know what is the overall objective of the organization, and then we build our cybersecurity strategy, like vision, mission for our business, correct? Then we need to look into what are the different threat vectors, correct? How is my organization is going to be attacked by the bad actors? What are the different entry zone? What are the different exit zone, correct? We need to look into that very, very, very clearly. So to do that, what is important? What is my landscape? Campus landscape, IT landscape. Is people are using the laptops? If it is the laptops, what is the make and model of the laptops? Is people using the workstation? Still desktop for kind of an customer support, or the people who doesn't need to kind of have a laptops for a travel purpose, correct? Where is my server located? Is it on-prem? Is it co-located? Is it in the cloud? That is very, very important. And also, we need to look into what is my industry alignment. What is the industry I belong to? Is it a financial institution, banking institution, or a service industry, manufacturing industry? That is very, very important because we need to focus on the industry-based attacks also. Our solution should depend upon that. And if you're serving the customer, or if our internal customers are serving the internal customer in the sense the business, or if they are serving an external customer, where our cybersecurity organization policies, procedures, and the controls what we have is very, very important for them to demonstrate to the external customer. That is very important. If we are not considering the business, core business, what they are delivering, if our strategy is completely different, then there will be always a gap between the business and the cyber organization. What is the business outcome? For example, if my organization is developing a SaaS platform, and if I want to deliver it to the customer, so as a cybersecurity organization, I need to see how I can able to demonstrate my SaaS platform is equally scalable, secured, and the resilience in nature. So as a cybersecurity organization, I need to partner with the development team, technology team in enabling those things for the customer success, correct? As I mentioned, regulatory compliance. So now if I just look into the next key pillar, correct? So we need to kind of go one level further now, because now I understand the landscape. What is my customer obligations, business obligations? What are my landscapes? Everything is done. Let's go a little further. What are the different portable endpoints I have, correct? Some organization still doesn't have an BYOD policy, bring your own device. So then I need to kind of understand, okay, do I kind of allow the people to connect the personal handheld into the corporate network? Do I allow the people to connect the corporate applications in their personal mobile? So my solution should be around that, correct? The other major thing we need to look into the identity misuse, correct? That is one of the major key vector that any attacker is trying to first attack the identity, correct? So we need to look into, okay, what are the identities being used, how they are used, whether it is like a single sign-on or standalone or federated. We need to look into all those things. What is my password policies? How the password policies are being used by different businesses. The next and foremost is very, very critical is the shadow IT, correct? So we have a cyber organization, IT organization, and business. And in 90% of the organization across the globe, When it is medium or the above, correct, there will be always a shadow IT. Either the shadow IT may be based upon a business unit or the location or the customer, correct? So we need to be very, very, very clear and aware, okay, what is the corporate asset and what are the non-corporate assets, which are getting connected into my network, which are getting connected into my applications. Because now the network boundary is very, very diminishing at this point in time. As I mentioned, the servers, hosting service. What are the different servers? What are the different operating systems? Let's not assume stuff. In cybersecurity, the basic philosophy which I follow is assumption kills. The moment you assume that, okay, I spoke to 10 people, and obviously the next set of 10 people also will say the same answers, okay, let's build a solution towards that. No. Try to understand as much as possible. Go to the last people ever possible to understand. They may give you a single device which will not be in your inventory, where that might be the entry point of that attacker, correct? And third party connectivity, which is the supply chain attack. So most of the attacks currently what we are seeing is prevailing from the supply chain. So we need to know it's not only what are the device which my employees are allowed to connect, but also who are the third party players, who are the support partners, who are the suppliers are allowed to connect, to what extent. So this is where the zero trust in the current context is playing a vital role, correct? We will just talk about the zero trust in the different contexts and session. But when we look into all these things, these are the different areas through which an attacker can get into an organization, correct? So these are the indicators. These are the technologies. These are the landscape that you need to consider when you are defining your policy standards and also the technical controls. When I'm talking about the technical controls, let's come to the topic for the day is the SOC, correct? SIEM is the one which is driving the SOC. XDR try to come and change the marketplace, but SIEM is still prevalent, and SLM is still a key and powerful tool for a SOC team. And whatever you're seeing around the SIEM is the different IT technologies like EDR, syslogs, firewall, Office 365, zero trust network access, different clouds access, correct? Every other technologies are getting integrated into the SAEM. What does that mean? It is not the technologies, correct? Uh, that is the kind of a wrong notion in the industry. Okay, I have 10 different technologies in my organization deployed. So I can go back and rest assured and give the management that we are secure because we have all the best in class technology procured, implemented. If anybody is kind of in making that statement, please go back and then correct them. You are not secured, correct? So you need to kind of identify the technology based on your threat landscape, based on your business outcome, which we saw in the last 2 to 3 slides. Because I might be having a firewall, but if I'm not putting the firewall in the right place where my business operates, if I'm not enabling the firewall with the right controls where my risk appetite are, correct? If I'm not having a right control in the firewall for my supply chain vendor, third party connectivity enable, so there is no point in having the firewall. So we need to be very, very clear in what are the technologies what we want to use and how to use it, which is very, very important. Most organizations are struggling in the second part, how to use it. Unless otherwise you have a context towards all the technologies, you cannot able to get best out of the technology. One key thing for everybody who is deploying any number of solutions, do not try to implement this solution as a standalone thought process. You may implement one solution after other, but your architecture always should have a path to integrate the different technologies. If two technologies are not talking to each other, you are not exchanging the context, correct? Content based cybersecurities are the past, are the history. Now, each and every technology players are providing the context. When I'm talking about the context, what does that mean? They just define the user behavior or the data behavior, and then they will define a context based on the times, the surroundings, criticality, and they just take all the information about that particular data and the particular users, locations, and everything. So the context is very important. If you are not tying the context, you will not be able to determine the latest attacks which is happening across the globe. So what are the considerations? Whatever I just kind of explained, that is what the key considerations, correct? Uh, Maybe after the session, I would probably request the audience to go back and then read the recent attacks happened in the last 3 months. If you go back and then look into those kind of case studies, none of the organizations are kind of come back and tell them, no, I didn't have this technology. That is why I got breached. No. Every organization had all the latest and fancy wins as part of their technology stack, but still they are compromised. The very reason is the basic hygiene and missing the context. Again, do not assume that I have a technology, I have a software installed, it is going to take care by default. No. Even SIEM for the matter. If you deploy the SIEM default policies, correlation rules, whatever you can, detection capability, whatever you want to say, that will be only useful less than 10 percentage. I'm so generous telling 10 percentage, but actually it's not. So you need to bring in the context of your organization, context of the data which you are bringing into the SIM, which is very, very, very important. And another most important thing which organizations are struggling, I won't say they are failing, but struggling, is determining the roles and responsibilities. What does that mean? As we talk about the convergence about the business, convergence about the technologies, convergence about the departments also happened in the last 1 decade. When I started my career like 12, 15, 16 years before, firewall, antivirus, exchange were 100% managed by the IT organization. VPN, correct? Those days VPN are managed by the IT organization, networking team predominantly. Security team was not having any role over there because the functionality of those antivirus, firewall are basic. Allow block, right? If there is any known malicious hash value available, signature available, configure it, it will block it from the antivirus perspective. So when this industrialization evolved, when the threat landscape evolved, these technologies also evolved, correct? Firewall, now we are talking about the next generation firewall. Next generation firewall is not like only creating the access list policies, correct? One zone to another zone all over block. It is much beyond than that. It has an UTM engine. You can able to define the intrusion prevention, detection policies. You have to analyze it. You need to kind of define the false positives, threats. You can able to define the threshold of how much the traffic can go, how much the traffic can come, correct? So firewall management as such, IT team can able to do, but bringing in the security context to it. EDR management can be done by the IT, bringing in the security context. Office 365, IT team can able to manage, bringing in the security context. That is where the roles and responsibilities is very, 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 very essential. If you leave it completely to the IT organization, they will manage it. But whether they manage it in a secure way, nobody can able to answer that. Correct? So this is where it's very, very important that the IT director and the security director has to sit together and then kind of define these roles and responsibilities. Some areas security team should take the governance portion. Some area security team should own the configuration portion. Correct? So there is no one silver bullet which is right, which is wrong. Depends upon the organization structure and what are their risk appetite. Correct? It is very important. And another major important stuff is the documentation of the incident management process. Right? So these are the These are the SOC is the place where 99% people will identify it as a false positive or an expected benign activity by the IT team or the users. But when there is 1%, people should not be kind of struggling in kind of knowing, okay, what next, how we can able to go about it. We don't know what to do at this point in time, which is very, very important. So we need to have a documentation in place along with the roles and responsibilities. When I'm talking about the process should not comprise only the security organization. When it is a security incident, it is an incident for the organization, not only for the security team. We need to involve the business. We need to involve the HR and legal folks if it is needed. It depends upon the magnitude of the issue. So it has to be documented properly. It has to be communicated to them properly, and it has to be tested properly. So this is where the tabletop exercise, the simulation exercise will come in handy, where most organizations started doing it. They simulate some scenarios, they see how effective their L1 organizations are. L1 level analyst, L2 level analyst, L3 architecture teams. So it is very important. So what is the key here? Buying the technology, investing on the technology is not the end, is just the starting. We need to architect it very clearly as how these technologies can able to share the context, correct? Not only the content, sharing the context and take the value out of the context, which is very, very important. So once you start integrating it, what maximum it will happen? Uh, Based on my experience, based on how when I built the SOC in different times in the past, there are 3 to 4 types of alerts, 3 to 4 type of threats that any organization can able to determine. What does it mean? There is an alert called known alert. What does it mean? Okay, I know if A and B are coming together, it is an issue. So you can able to configure the SIM to detect those alerts, which is called known alerts. Correct. So those are the one which will be typically handled by the L1 analyst, where they see the monitor, 24/7 monitoring. There is a policy rules engine running at the back, and they will just kind of determine, okay, if something coming out, do an analysis, take an action. This is where more false positives will be coming in. So that is why it is a volumetric alert. The number of alerts will be more. And there is another one called known unknown alert. I know it is an alert, but I cannot able to trigger or identify it as part of the policy created. Correct. So I need to kind of look into the logs. I need to determine. I need to look into the configuration, whether it is configured properly or not. Because if my configuration is wrong, sometimes known alerts also will not be triggering. So that is the main responsibility of the red team. I'm just giving it the very high level, not going in detail about like a 10 points, 20 points, what are the structure of the different teams, right? So that is what the primary responsibility of the red team in most of the organization. The combination of these two is what people call it as a purple team, correct? So a person in the organization, the same blue team, will be doing the blue team exercise and also the red team activity. The red team activity will be typically performed by the senior person in the organization, senior person in the department. There is something called unknown. What does it mean? There is no threat indicators available in the web, and there is no alert triggered. But I know there is something that I need to find it out, correct? If I connect 10 dots, there is no issue. But if I'm connecting the 11th or 12th dots together, there might be an anomaly triggering. That is called hunting. So I'm just going behind the logs with different technologies, what we saw in the previous slide, and then trying to define a correlation. Okay, up to this, there is no problem, but there is something happen at the 11th step, 12th step, where we need to be very clear why it is happening. This is not the normal business context. That is called hunting is all about. The last one is the zero-day threat intelligence, where it is not a independent team members. It is the group. There is a lot of organizations available. There is an intelligence, threat intelligence feed, open source, honest is there, and then the commercial feeds available. So which we need to look into. For the threat intelligence or the zero-day, you need to have a tight integration with all the technologies player which you are implementing in your organization. So buying a technology is not an one-time exercise, right? You need to have a continuous engagement with the technology supplier and then see what are the new uh, deployment, what are the new features they are releasing every quarter, because there is a quarterly release, sometimes monthly release. So you need to know how you can able to start adapting it. Correct. It's not only deploying it and then kind of running it as like an okay, let's run the show and then the movies will be keep running every 3 hours interval, every 4 hours interval. No, you need to kind of buy it, have a continuous engagement with your customer success manager or a consultant so that they can come in and bring in an independent view. Okay, this is what your technology you implemented, but effectiveness of the technology is only 20%, 30%. Correct. So then your complete dynamics of your risk will be changing. So which is very, very important, correct? And when you're just looking at all these threats, what is the outcome that we are trying to drive? Why are we doing all these things? Who is going to get benefit out of it, correct? Which is very, very, very important. So this is what some of the things what you can able to drive if you have a SOC in any organization. I won't say the benefits, but I say what is the outcome that any organization will able to get. There is a kind of a strong notion in the industry. People who are there in the industry for about some time, they talk, they know about it. People always call it as an insurance, correct? I'm not talking about a cyber insurance. That is a different topic altogether. Having a cybersecurity organization, having a set of people is like taking an insurance. Why insurance? Like a life insurance? I wish I do not. I should not be getting into any of the medical emergencies, but I am having an insurance. If by God forbidden, if I get into it, there should be somebody who can able to take care. So these are the people. The cyber security team is the primary responsibility. So it is an insurance. Why the word insurance is used by the cybersecurity leaders? There is no direct ROI for any insurance, unless otherwise you claim the insurance. Correct? So it is very tricky. You need to look into it. But at the same time, in the current context, business will not give you the money just like that by investing in the insurance. I can tell that I can reduce my insurance value as a cybersecurity leader. How do you go back and then fight to get the budget for determining the risk and stopping the risk, right? So these are some of the capabilities. How now I'm just correlating back to the business outcome, correct? So you need to understand what is the business that your organization is into. Are they selling a product? Are they selling a service? Are they buying a product or buying a service? Correct? It should fit in any one of these four major pillar or higher pillar. So if they are selling anything, you need to see how you can able to integrate your cybersecurity practice as part of their sales team, go to market, which is very, very important. Because if you tag along with the go to market team, where the pre-sales team, they will just kind of and go back and get the customer input. Customer may tell that I need X, Y, Z. Some of those components will be directly relevant to the government regulations or how secure my product is, so that they do not need to worry about by after implementing the product or after purchasing the product. So this is where the value proposition you can able to build in. If you are in the financial organization, how many statutory audits are there? There is a daily audit, monthly audit, quarterly audit, SOX audits, correct? So you need to see how you can able to tag along your policies and standards along with that. So that is how you have to go back and promulgate the what are the security controls you deployed, which is helping not only for the organization but also for the business what we are running. Correct? You just go and have an interview with the departments, business heads, and understand what if we are not having this feature. They may come back and surprise you with the answer. If we are not having this feature, maybe we will be losing 5 to 10 customers, because that is the feature that the customers are looking into. Because we lost some of the deals in the past because of a couple of features which is not there as part of our product. That is where it is very important to sit with the business, understand the business, and then come back and develop your objective, cybersecurity objective. Cybersecurity is never a standalone business, standalone function in any organization in the current context of the business. Okay.
So
So
Vijay,
now,
sorry to interrupt, one second.
yes,
So guys, if you have any doubts or questions, please drop it on the comment box. So end of this presentation, Vijay will be addressing each of the questions. Thank you. Yes, Vijay,
thank you.
you can
Thank you, Nisha.
continue.
Okay. So the other biggest question, correct? I was talking about for last 27, 28 minutes, and then talking about, okay, you have to do this, you need to understand the business, you need to kind of and deploy it, you need to kind of and getting into context. But the other piece is, how are you going to demonstrate it? How are you going to kind of and publish a dashboard to the business, which is very, very important, correct? How are you measuring your success? How are you measuring your what is that you want to do next? Correct? This is where the metrics plays a vital role. And people always think when it is a cybersecurity, it's always about metrics. Okay, how many alerts has been identified, triggered, closed, false positives, working with ITs, all those things. No, that is one part of the metrics. Correct. We need to look into the operational metrics. What do you mean by operational metrics? Correct. How effectively I'm running the SOC operations. Okay. How quickly I'm detecting the alert. How quickly I am reporting the alert. How quickly I am remediating the alert. You should have a ways and means to determine these metrics. That shows the effectiveness of your team members. That shows the effectiveness of the organization to the management. Correct? It's not only the so you have to kind of consider metrics as a binding factor between the business, cybersecurity team, and the management. Correct? Because you will be provided like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the slot. This is the only place where you are going to gain the confidence from the business. So if you go back and tell everything is green, that is not the confident building, correct? You need to say why I'm telling as what I'm telling, correct? The why portion is very important. People are not here to listen only what. That they will get it in one email, correct? You need to go back and explain why. This is what I'm measuring, this is what I'm seeing, and this is what I'm delivering, correct? And the threat. What do you mean by threat? For example, correct? So we have deployed so many technologies. Again, I'll just go back and take some of the examples like email protection, firewall, XDR, EDR, correct? So all these technologies can able to detect some threats and prevent some threats. So you need to go back and tell, okay, by deploying this kind of an technologies, so much of an alerts has been prevented in the previous month. Or else this might be delivered to the end user. There is a potential possibilities of end user clicking any one phishing link, correct? Opening an attachment may create a problem to the organization. So that is the story that you need to kind of build in giving that confident. Okay, you gave me the money, I asked for the money, I deployed it. With this deployment, I am able to preventing certain stuff. Cybersecurity is not always prevention, but when you are preventing it, you need to go back and then tell prevention, correct? There is nothing like proactiveness in cybersecurity. You cannot able to stop any threat as proactively. Then there is no way that you can able to tell that that is going to happen. The last one is about the management, correct? When you talk about the management, it's a complete ecosystem. Okay, I have 1,000 users in my organization. Is all the 1,000 users are covered with the technology what I have, or only partially covered? I have 500 servers. Is all the 500 servers are covered with the technologies what I have, or partial? Correct, which is very important. Coverage is very important. You may end up in thinking that okay, 98 percentage, 2 percentage, but that 2 percentage might be the entry point for the attacker. Okay, I have patched 90 percentage of my machine, 10 percentage is okay, but the 10 percentage is what the attacker will kind of always look for. So we need to be very, very clear in defining the threshold. Everybody knows that 100 percentage we cannot able to achieve because of ever changing dynamics, the shadow IT. There is always a gap between the IT and the security organization. So these are the facts that we need to agree, we need to accept. Unless otherwise you understand, agree, and accept, you cannot able to kind of improve on your solution, correct? So these are the constraints. So never you can your end goal can be 100 percentage, but also keep it in the mind it is highly impossible to reach 100 percentage. So you need to define what is your threshold. It's not that you are defining the threshold, you need to get a sign in from the management. This is my threshold. Why I'm defining this threshold? For so and so reason. If the C-level management comes back and tells that no, you are telling 95 percentage, but I need 98 percentage SLA, 98 percentage as a threshold. Okay, if I want to increase from 95 to 98, these are the A, B, C ask which I need and support from these people, and this is the more investment I need it more. So go back with those data points. So you are kind of getting into an engagement with the management, which is more important. Unless otherwise you start an engagement or a conversation, you will not get what you want. So this is how any organization has to build their interaction with the management, because management obviously want to listen, everything is fine. But it is a security leader like you and me to go back and then demonstrate, okay, all is fine, but how it is fine? Please listen to me. This is what it is. But there is a gap, there is a gray area which I need your help to address. That is where we need to move on. Right? Before going to next, I will just take a couple of questions and then I'll just kind of I have another couple of more slides, only one or two slides, then we'll just take it up. Nisha, anything question?
Yes, yes, just a minute.
Sure.
So we have a question from Prabhagar that how can SOC monitoring be tailored to the specific needs and challenges of SMEs considering the often limited resource?
Yes. So if you remember, that is what I just had a slide called the context versus content. So now most of the technologies are kind of in giving only the context. Correct. So it is very, very critical for an organization to determine what are the critical assets. Correct. And what is that which is very key for me to protect. And what are the identities which are important. When talking about the assets, it's not only the laptops and servers, also the employees, also the identities. When talking about the identities, it is not only the VIP users, it is the service account, admin accounts, local accounts, everything. So we need to be very, very clear in bifurcating this. Number one. Number two, start with what you can chew. What most organizations kind of have a very high ambition. Okay, I need to integrate everything on day one, and then I need to go as a big bang. When you are starting as a greenfield, big bang will never be successful. You take, okay, these are my two, three different technologies, which is critical. Uh, let's rewind the conversation, which I just kind of explained, correct? Nowadays, you have firewall where you can able to block the malicious traffic coming in, which was not possible few years before. And you have an email gateway where you can able to block the malicious traffic, which was not there before. Now you have an EDR, XDR, where you can able to block the malicious process execution, malicious file execution, which you are not there few years before. So you need to kind of make use of these capabilities. And if something is already prevented, put that as a back burner. If something is detected, just look into it. So what ideally you're doing, the technologies is doing its part. So don't try to chase the technology and challenge the technology. Why it is blocked? Why it is blocked? Put it is blocked. Unless otherwise somebody is coming and crying, I'm not able to do my regular activity because your technology is blocking my partial execution, which is the genuine use case. Then you do the analysis. So you need to kind of determine which is where to focus on, where to channelize the resource and how to channelize it. Correct. If I tell, okay, I have 1,000 alerts every day, I need to review all the 1,000 alerts. It's not possible. If you have a resource, well and good. If not, it's not possible. So determine the priority. Okay, if the alert is coming for ABC, which is critical alert, I will just hook or crook. I will look into it and then I'll go deeper into the analysis. If it is XYZ, this is the medium and low, I can able to do when there is a lean period. See, every SOC runs 24 by 7. Not all the 24 by 7, all the 24 hours you will get the same volumetric of an alerts. So you need to split among the team members and the capabilities and the skill set. This is one of the way. There are multiple ways that depends upon what are the challenges and how they are just going it through, Nisha and Prabhakar.
Great. So next question is from Nitish. And what are the important signs that show if the cybersecurity control in a security operation center SOC are working well?
Okay, the answer is if there is no one coming and telling that you are being attacked, that is the only sign. Correct. That is, you cannot able to kind of measure the success of SOC on a daily basis. There is a slight difference between the SOC operations and the IT operations. Okay, the IT operations is always there is an end user, there is somebody behind the screen who is coming back and telling that I am not able to do which I'm expected to do, or I was able to do till so and so time. Now I'm not able to do. Correct. So there is always a kind of an ask or a issue based like a binary. Okay, this is working, this is not working. There is nothing like in between. But if you look into the SOC, a same scenario will be considered as an normal. The same scenario will be considered as an attack scenario. Correct. Example. So I am running a SOC. My analysis is kind of and seeing there is an user ID called India, and that ID is used by the administrator on a daily basis to perform a task. Correct. And analyst will be always looking into it. Okay, this is a regular activity by this person, so no, it should be fine. So if we reach out to the IT team, SOC team will reach out to the IT team. They tell that it's a regular activity based on this ticket. They will give the IT ticket reference number and everything. And one fine night, the same ID is used to do some changes in some other server. And if you reach out to the IT team, they will tell that no, we do not have any activity. We never, nobody in the IT organization uses that. Correct. So how do you differentiate? So this is where the context is very important, not only the content. So the very simple answer is till the time you there is no indicator that you have been compromised or attacked. This is a continuously running engine. Don't lay back. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you, Vijay. And next one is hi. What are the key indicators of compromise the SOC team should prioritize in SME environment to detect threats early?
Okay. Uh, See, now you do not need to kind of struggle a lot as a SOC analyst to look into the key indicators. I will tell you the reason why. Now, 99% of the technologies which you are deploying in any organization, right, be it be a big organization, small, any technologies, every the technology players are having an inbuilt capability of having their AIL ML algorithm, correct? Artificial intelligence ML algorithm. How effective it is, that is depends upon the technology from product to product. But what do you mean by AIM algorithm? They always look for an indicator. Correct. That is why it is called behavioral based threats nowadays. So nowadays, there nobody is talking about how many alerts you are monitoring. Correct. How many threats? In down the line in another 5 years, the SOC complete SOC team will talk about threats only. Okay, how many threats I have identified? How many threats I have analyzed? As on today, it is in transition between the alerts and the threats. But down the line, it's all going to be threats. Why? The technology is evolving in such a way that nobody is having a time and looking into the alerts because the alerts are huge. So every technology is processing the alerts which are getting generated locally and then kind of determining the threats based on the algorithm and then reporting the threats to the SIEM. So it is very important to look into those threats as an indicator and drive your analysis approach. Being said that, now we are in the transition phase, right? So we cannot able to completely rely only on the threats. We have getting alerts also. So that is how these open source and so many lot of threat intelligence players are available, like Mandiant, lot Guardians, all those things are available where they have the complete master database of the known compromised indicators. Correct? So it can be an IP address, it can be a website, it can be an user ID, it can be an hash, it can be a file, anything. So they have the complete master database, what is happening across the globe. So if you integrate your technologies into those threat intelligence and then create one policy, if any of my data logs, any of my alerts matching into any of these data sources coming in into this threat intelligence, trigger an alert. That is one. And in the last few years, Indian government is having more focus on the cybersecurity. Our CERT is having a very wonderful database. They have a very rich uh, vulnerability database, which not most of the enterprise brigade vulnerability database players are there. So it is free of cost. As an organization, please go to the internet and look into the process. You can integrate the certain database into your SIM platform and then take the best out of what are the known indicators available. At the same time, since even though the question is belongs to the indicator of compromise, how we understand the compromise, there is another terminology where I want all the SOC aspirant and the SOC current SOC team members to look for the indicator of attacks. Correct? What is the key difference between IOC and IOA? IOC is something that which is already known, which has happened. So there is a reference to that, correct? So you are saying that I have a reference which is there in the industry, which is there in the market, which is there in the dark web. I can able to kind of see whether my organization is having any impact towards it. IOA is completely a pattern and the behavior. So that is where the threat hunting and the A red team will play a major role. So you need to look into what are the different patterns happening in the organization. If there is a new pattern which you are identifying, pattern can be as simple as a new device is getting introduced and then suddenly kind of and removed from the network. A new ID has been created and deleted. I'm just talking about a very basic pattern. Sometimes you will just have a pattern. You will see that okay, logs should be kind of cleared every 1 hour, 2 hours, which you are not seen before. So when you look into this kind of an attack pattern, because these are the way in which an attacker will kind of behave when they are attacking an organization. So you have to kind of read through the APT groups. That is very important. Each and every APT groups has their own way of attacking the organization. Their techniques are unique. So read through those techniques. Using that technique, come back and look into the logs, alerts, threats which you are having, and then start doing the manual analysis, which is IOA, indicator of kind of an attack. So that